So in my last video, I was talking about 4 stars. Well, that is if you exclude Traveler. But the main point of the video was, of course, which characters you need to survive in Genshin Impact. So that means that 3 characters were also included, of course. But let's take it up a little bit of level, and today I will guide you which characters are actually worth pulling for, on their own banners. That means that in this video I'm going to be only talking about 5 stars. Not the ones that are free or from standard banner, but the ones that they have their own banner. So let's get into it. Oh yeah, and just like I did in the last video, I'm also going to be doing at least one character from each element. Starting off with Anemo. Now this one is super easy. Kazuha, he is great for creating swirl reactions, like by using his skill you group enemies together, he groups the enemies together, and by using his burst, well, it creates like a circle of wind, and if you're in this area which is quite large, you will literally create swirl reactions. So yeah, Kazuha is very broken. Now the other two that I have are pretty fun to use. They're not definitely as good as Kazuha, but they are good in their own ways and are pretty fun to use. Now as for Venti, his skill is pretty fun to use, great for exploration, and each 3 of those Anemo characters are also excellent for explorations. In fact, the top for explorations. Now Venti is also great for creating swirl reactions, since his burst makes him create a wind that holds all the enemies together, but Venti's skill makes him create a wind that you can fly, glide. Shao is also another good one. His burst is very good for plunging attacks, and well, since his height increases by a lot, you can also travel the world kinda by flying. Finally, last but not least, we have Wanderer, who is also pretty good. He can literally fly and shoot enemies off the sky. Finally, we are at Geo, and the only one I have for Geo is none other than Zhongli. But even so, if you are a skill player, then you don't really need a Zhongli. But if you are not the best at dodging attacks, then Zhongli is the perfect option for you. He has the best shield in the entire game, and even without his shield, you can still block attacks by his pillar. And if that isn't even enough, he also petrifies the enemies. He blocks up and protects your party members by everything. At Electro we have none other than RERUN Shogun, since she can be used as an Electro main DPS or even sub DPS. Now there are also lots of good 4-star Electro characters, but RERUN Shogun kinda tops them all up anyway. Her burst makes her create large AoE Electro damage, and then for a few seconds she also deals Electro damage by attacking. This is where she comes into main DPS, but if you want to use her as a sub DPS, she is mainly used by her skill, which creates Shard of Utumia, which provides Electro reactions whenever you damage one of the enemies. At Dendro we have Nahida. Alright, Nahida is just really broken, and the reason is because of her elemental skill. Her burst as well, but her burst is pretty good as well, but it depends on what kind of element you use, but it basically buffs your party members. As for her skill, you can literally mark enemies that you want to, create danger reactions on, and you can even link them together, the marked ones link themselves together, meaning that basically if you damage one of them, all those others that are linked to that one will also be damaged and have a danger reaction created. Therefore, Nahida is very overpowered and also possibly the best for creating reactions such as Hyperbloom. Now, another one that I recommend, which I will talk about later, is if you have Furina, you can also use Pyro, but as I said, I will get to him when we will get to Furina. Now, the last one for Dendro is Alhaitham, which if you want Dendro main DPS, this guy is literally perfect. This guy basically creates falling mirrors, either by using his skill or burst, and those mirrors fall from the sky, creating Dendro damage. His burst makes him create a field that also deals lots of Dendro damage that works on field. But Alhaitham can be very crazy and broken as well if you use him as a main DPS, then one of the Hydra like Yelan, Shinchu or Furina, one of the Electro sub DPS characters, and the 4th one can be some sort of support like Bennett, for example. Now we're finally at Hydra, and the first ones I'm going to mention will be Yelan and Furina. Now as I said, I will get to Furina, so here I am. Okay, so basically for Furina, her burst works like that there is a system, like a healing system, that has points. You each get one of those points by either taking damage or healing up, and those points always buff your attacks. Therefore, the best healers for Furina currently are Baiju and Kokomi, since they heal pretty well once the damage is taken. But Furina also has a healing ability herself, and by holding the attack button, she also switches clothes, which has another elemental skill and this one is the best because it's great for vaporizing reactions, for example, or even Hyper Bloom, but RERUN is also pretty much as good as Furina. First of all, Yenar has the ability to run through the enemies, and mark them as hydras, which is one of the reasons why she is so great for creating reactions, but another reason is of her burst, buffs your party members and deals hydra damage. So Yenar and Furina are both broken, but if you don't feel like going with lots of healers, if you don't have them or anything, then you can just stick with Yenar. She doesn't have that same system as Furina does. Now the last one that I would like to mention is Nuvalet, who also works better with Furina because he loses damage over time while, using his Hydra Dragon damage or whatever you wanna call it. But at the same time, once using his particles, he actually regenerates his HP back, meaning that he heals himself very quickly. But if you don't have Furina, Nuvalet is still worth it because he is possibly the number one. In fact, you know what? He's the number one main DPS in the entire game. He's just crazy, just look at the gameplay. I don't even think that I need to explain much yet. Now as for the Pyro, we have Hu Tao. Now Hu Tao also works great with Furina as she is one of those low HP characters who deals more damage when they are at low level, but she also has a burst that heals and everything, so besides Nuvalet, she is not a great option for Furina. But if you don't have Furina, she is still the only actual worth Pyro main DPS. Using her elemental skill, Pyro 1, she deals such a great Pyro damage. It's insane. She especially works with characters like Chinchu, who even help her with vaporizing reaction and such, so Hu Tao is another very good main DPS character. And there are multiple ways that you can dodge attacks, such as her burst that even heals her, or by charge attack. Last we have Cryo. Now as for Cryo, I would like to give a spot to Ganyu. Ganyu can either be a main DPS or even sub DPS. She's a great sub DPS in fact. So basically as a main DPS she can deal, from her bow she can deal Cryo AoE damage every time she charges, and shoots the bow, but I would mostly recommend to use her as a sub DPS since she is great for creating melting reaction, and she sets off this cryo ball that is very large, very large AoE cryo damage, in fact field damage or whatever you want to call it, which is just amazing. It takes a lot of area. Now last one I want to mention is Shenhe, but only on recommendations. It really depends on you. I do not recommend to pull for Shenhe at all if you don't use Cryo, because she works best with Cryo. She's mainly a Cryo buffer, so if you use someone let's say for example, Risley or Ayaka, then she can be a great option. That was basically it. I hope this video helps you out. These were the characters that are worth pulling, but of course you choose your own depending on your gameplay. Do not pull for the ones that you don't like, but what I really recommend you to do is pull wisely. You don't want to pull for any wrong characters that you don't need at all. Either way, thanks for watching my video and I will see you all in my next one.